Let the car warm up, get it into the shop, and we're gonna swap some coilovers into this thing and see how it rides. So there you have it, guys. You can see I've got the EDC air on there, and another reason for, you know, if I'm going to swap to coilovers, I'm going to have this light on forever. I don't know if there's an emulator or maybe you can just get it programmed out, but I'm not concerned. The car is in the shop. I'm going to jack it up, and I'll probably just do side and side, since BMW is always so good about being able to jack up from one spot. Well, actually, no, there is a center jack point, but I don't think I'm going to be able to use it with the lip spoiler, and especially once the coilovers are on, I have a feeling the car is going to be sitting down lower, hence making things a little bit more difficult to get a jack underneath. So the coilovers I've gone with, and some of you guys are going to be like, what the hell? These are called Rev 9. Yep, they're eBay coilovers, and the whole set ran me, I want to say $540 something to my door. And some of you guys might be like, why are you putting shitty coilovers on your E60 M5? It was a $100,000 car when it was new. Why are you going to put cheap stuff on that? Well, first reason, I have actually run these on 2 of my 335s and beat the living hell out of them, and I've never actually had an issue. So 335 versus an E60 spec, what could be the difference? Now, I can say this, these are called the Hyper Street 2s, and there are a normal Hyper Street 1 version. Out of the two, the ones are maybe $100, maybe $200 cheaper, something like that. Not very much. It's not substantial, but the ride quality is substantial. So the 2s on the 335 that I had in Dubai, yeah, I had that thing like ultra slammed. I probably put 15,000 miles on that car, and they were hard daily driven miles. I never had an issue. Then I tried the Hyper Street 1s on the 335 that I've had here recently in Texas, and that car wasn't as low, and I could tell that if I had pushed it to the limit that I had on the Hyper Street 2s that I had in Dubai, it probably wouldn't have liked it, but at the same time, the 2s are meant to be lower than the 1s. So keep that in the back of your mind. And guys, again, this is a $7,500 E60 M5. This car pretty much owes me nothing already. You know, I think I've got near or maybe even over 1,000 miles of spirited absolute fun, and it's pretty much a write-off. Well, some of you guys would be like, man, that's an expensive 1,000 miles to enjoy, but I think it's going to keep on going. And the reality is, if I got 10,000 miles out of this car, which would equal pretty much a year's worth of driving for a lot of people, yeah, $7,500, no big deal, right? Obviously, I've been putting a little bit of money into it. You know, lip spoiler, a couple little interior things, now the coilovers. So now it's a $10,000 car. Anyways, let's get the suspension sorted out, jack the car up, unbolt whatever we need to unbolt. I think it should be pretty straightforward. You know, you got your three nuts on the top. And what's interesting about the E60 is that front and back almost looks, it has like strut style hats, right? So normally it's just kind of like the shaft of the shock that'd be coming up through your shock tower in the back. Well, they've got like strut towers style in the back, just a different fitting on the bottom here. So anyways, enough rambling. Car jacked up, 17mm socket to get the wheels off, and get some jack stands for some safety and all that good stuff. And we'll see what we're working with here. All right, so I pulled the cap off for the electronics here. So you can see that's where it says E60 M5. So I have a feeling that maybe the sensor has been changed and maybe not the strut itself. So the name of the game is, all right, I'm just gonna make sure that anything that's connected to this guy, and I've never done an E60 one before, but I have a feeling it should be pretty straightforward. Brakes actually look good, so no complaints there. It's pretty sweet. And yeah, so I'm just gonna get a jack underneath the control arm, and that way we can kind of support this. And feeling all that happens is things get sandwiched right in here. So we'll get it done. All right, so I loosen this one bolt here. There's a nut on the back side which holds your ABS lines and everything on that bracket. And now I'm taking off the nuts on the top of the strut here. So these are 13mm. That guy down there is an 18mm. Your wheel bolts is a 17mm. So that's right, everything is metric, as BMW does. So that guy seems smaller. BMW loves, well, I shouldn't say that. You know what, BMWs are actually pretty easy to work on, I find. Sometimes they do some weird stuff here and there. Like, I have two bolts next to each other, that one is smaller than the other. So 16mm. So I'm trying to get the ride height somewhat dialed in. Now, probably won't get it perfect off the get-go, but so the interesting thing about this setup is that it's actually designed, like a lot of people back in the day would mess with this. Whoops, there goes the hood. That actually scared the shit out of me. So you would lower this, which would ultimately mess with your preload on the spring. And then if you guys remember Bilstein PSS 9s, so on and so forth, they'd have a little helper spring to help keep tension on everything, so that way when the car's jacked up and the weight's off the suspension, the spring wouldn't slop and move around. Well, in this day and age, the adjustability actually happens. If I can actually get this guy on here, there we go. So we're actually adjusting the ride height by threading the housing or the body of the spring perch and everything else down into the actual housing here. So see, there's a little lock, spring-loaded lock washer there. And what I'm doing is I'm threading this up. Now I'm going to go down for another 1/2 inch. Let me get a really good measurement here. 1 5/8. So now I'm going to go down to 1. screw it, I'm gonna go down to 1 1/4. So by moving that guy up, it kind of does this double locking thing and then allows us to spin this down into the housing like so. One more turn. Actually, there we go. I have a feeling that'll be it. Boom, that'll do it. And then we'll hold the GoPro in between the knees here. Here we go. All right, guys, now I don't recommend putting all your interior back together just yet. I'd recommend you leave it loose. That way you have access to adjust your shock settings in the back before you commit. And once you are happy with your ride height and the rebound and everything else, put your trunk back together. Rubbing in the front here, I gotta see what's going on. All right, I know what the issue is.
Join us Monday night for our 2024 iHeart Podcast Award, presented by the Hartford Live in South by Southwest.
And it's not a good problem to have, guys. We actually are going to need spacers in the front because the tires are actually rubbing right on the damn coilover rings. So I'm probably shredding the inner sidewalls a little bit. Have no fear, I do have spacers. So here's the issue. Look at this, it was actually getting the wheel a little bit and the tire right there. And you can see it right there where it was did a little bit of rubbing. And not a big deal. A little spacer in the front here, which we knew we needed anyways, is going to solve that problem. And in the rear, our spacing is a little aggressive. I actually want to raise the rear up probably 1/2 inch. I think I went too far with that. So I'm going to bolt the spacer on the front, raise the rear up a little bit, and fingers crossed, everything will be good. All right, so good thing I've got some spacers laying around. Actually had these for the M5. So, yeah. Everything else should be fine in there. In reality. All right, no more noises. So, no funny noises. Car actually still drives straight, which is nice. You never know, right? When you're taking front suspension components out and then you're lowering the car. Now, mind you, you should still be getting an alignment after any time you change your suspension geometry. I'll probably throw my my quick trick alignment on it. This seems to be doing pretty good, guys. Like, the settings, of course, I can still dial in if I want to, but just based off of having had these coilovers in my 335s, I kind of know where I like the settings to be. And this road up here is pretty garbage in reality. Like, you can see what we're driving down here. And it's actually driving quite nice. You know, there's a couple good bumps right around here. I think there's a dip here. Yep, there we go. So in conclusion, this is 100 times better than what I had. I had clapped out probably original 200,000+ mile E60 M5 struts and shocks. So the other thing we got to keep in mind, these coilovers are brand new and freshly installed, so they're going to work initially. Well, at least they should work initially. And they seem to be doing their thing. And the only way that I can really give you guys a, you know, full, accurate review is once I get some miles on these things. So I'll be keeping you guys up to date, and I'll let you know as I put more and more miles on this car. But again, this car, just with it being so cheap, so high miles, and everything else, it just was not worth throwing like thousands of dollars at the suspension, when for 500 bucks and a couple hours of my time, I'm running nice and smooth now. So I just got to figure out, you know, the EDC, it throws the air in the CCC display here, which I've actually got the upgrade, the aftermarket Android/Apple Play upgrade unit that I'm going to be installing in there. So that's going to be like my next upgrade, because I feel like having proper streaming Bluetooth and everything else is something worth investing in. Again, another $500. So that is it for the $10,000 now E60 M5 that I have with 208,018 miles. Until next time, we'll see you back here on the Infamous Project.